So good morning everybody, and many thanks for joining us on this morning's webinar. My name's Victoria Clarke and I'm joined by my colleague Audrey Mooney, and we'll just be taking you through the steps required for your year-end process in Thesaurus Payroll Manager just over the next 60 minutes or so. Okay, just before we get going, I just want to let you know a few things about the webinar. We have just performed a sound check about 5 minutes ago, so if you're just joining us and you're having any, you can't hear us at all, then obviously you probably won't be able to hear us here, but do let us know in your question bar if you're having any problems at all, and we'll have a look at helping you there. Over on your right-hand side, you do have a control panel, and throughout the webinar, if you have any questions that you would like to ask us, please use that question section just to pop your questions in, and then we'll do a Q&A session at the very end with you. Over the next 60 minutes, we will be recording what we're showing you, so you can then fully concentrate on the screens and the software there. And what we'll do after the webinar, we'll get the recording ready and we'll email that over to you. And also as well, the PowerPoint slides that we'll be going through this morning will also send over to you as well. So you'll have both the recording and the slides sent to you. Okay. So our agenda for the next 60 minutes is as follows. So Audrey's just going to start by showing you how you just need to complete your payroll for the 2017 tax year. And then she'll be covering then if you have any medical insurance going through your payroll, what your requirements are for that. She'll then be showing you how you can review your end of year reports and check your P35 liability. We'll then be moving on to using the Revenue Online service and how you can submit your P35 file to them, and they'll be looking then at any corrections that you need to make to your P35, and then the final task of issuing P60s to your employees. We'll then just cover a couple of general things at the very end. We'll just talk briefly about the small benefit exemption, and then also about the changes that are ahead of us regarding PAYE modernisation, and then we'll just finish up then just showing you some of the new features that are coming into Payroll Manager next year in 2018. So I'll pass you over to Audrey now just to get started on the completion of the payroll.
Thanks very much, Vicky, and good morning, everyone. So I suppose some of what we're about to cover may just seem quite basic, but I suppose we just need to cover it in full, and hopefully you'll pick up maybe some tips along the way. So just for completing the payroll for 2017, so all payroll frequencies for which you operate payroll should be completed prior to running any end-of-year revenue returns, so prior to doing your P35 or issuing any end-of-year documents to the employees, so before you would issue any P60s. So to update the pay periods for the tax year, you would simply go to Payslips and update Payslips. Okay, you would enter the pay date applicable to the final pay period for the pay frequency that you're currently in. So I mean, if you're on weekly, more than likely the pay date that will show for you will be the correct pay date. It'll just have incremented by 7. For the monthly payroll, then your pay date may change, you know, could be the last working day of the month, etc. So you just enter the pay date accordingly. So we'll just pop into the software for a moment then just to have a look at that. Okay, so as I said, you would go to Payslips and update Payslips. Equally, you can use process icon number 4 if you use the icons. Okay, so you can see there it's showing me the last month that I updated, the last pay date, and it's saying that I'm updating month number 12, and it simply just needs my pay date for month number 12. So I'm just going to enter a pay date of the 20th of December and click on update. So it'll always tell me file successfully prepared for updating. Okay, and then it always prompts you to take the backup, and we do advise that a backup is always taken. You know, should anything happen on your PC, if you have an external backup, you can get your payroll back up and running within minutes. So for the purpose of today, I'm just going to hit close just on the backup screen. Okay, so it's now telling me update completed for month number 12. So I'm happy now that my month number 12 has been closed off. Okay. And just a reminder there in relation to the CSO returns, should I be required to complete them. It's always worth reviewing before you go to do, you know, any changes to your payroll, or before you would go to issue, you know, P35, do your P30, P60s, etc. It's always worth just looking at the status bar at the bottom of the screen. So I can see here that it's saying my weekly, my last pay date was the 27th of December for week number 52. And for my monthly payroll, the last pay date was the 20th of December for month number 12. So I would be happy that my year is complete. The payroll is where I should be at, if you like. So that's always just a good check. I know times people will reverse payrolls, etc. So that's always just a good check to do before you would, you know, go ahead to do any of your end of year submissions. Okay. Okay, so I suppose a very topical question or query towards the end of every year is week 53. So week 53 occurs when you have 53 weekly payrolls in the tax year. So week 53 will fall on the 31st of December, or in a leap year, the 30th or 31st of December. This year, I would imagine there's very few people requiring a week 53 because it's only employers that pay wages on a Sunday that would have a requirement for week 53 in 2017. So simply, there's the only day of the week that there's 53 on in 2017 is a Sunday. So for any other pay date, you know, there isn't a requirement for a week 53. Thesaurus Payroll Manager always offers the week 53 because we don't know who needs it and what, you know, different people need it different years. So the onus is on the user, I suppose, to ensure that you only use the week 53 option, you know, when it is appropriate to the payroll that you're, you know, you're operating. Thesaurus Payroll Manager automatically applies the revenue rules for week 53 when there is a requirement for the week 53. There is no user action required. Okay. And I suppose we always say this, it's extremely important just to follow Revenue's PAYE calendar. Any USC cut-off points, employee tax credits and cut-off points on a week 1 basis in the week 53 payroll as per the revenue regulations. If, however, an employee's normal payday has changed during this tax year or the preceding tax year, the additional USC cut-off points are not applicable to that employee. If this is the case, you do need to instruct the software that the additional USC cut-off points are not relevant to an employee. And to prevent the employee receiving those additional USC cut-off points, you need to go to Add and Amend Employees. And we'll just pop back into the software there just to show that to you. Okay, I suppose I'll just pop into the weekly payroll as it's relevant to a weekly. So in Add and Amend Employees, or by clicking on the process icon number 1, you would simply select the employee. I've picked somebody who's P45, so let's move on, and revenue details. So you simply tick to say that, you know, there's exemptions or exclusions that are applicable to this employee. Okay, and then you have this option here to exclude the employee from the week 53 USC concession. So for any employee that that is not due the week 53 concession, you simply tick it to exclude them from it, and update then just to save that change. Okay. Just pop back into monthly there for a second. Okay, so on completion of the final payrolls for each pay frequency that you run payroll, so for your monthly and weekly or fortnightly, you would issue the final pay period pay slips to all of the employees. So this is done by via the pay slips menu. And pay slips can be printed or emailed as per your requirements. So again, we'll pop back into the software. Sorry. Can't get my mouse to cooperate. Sorry, we've 2 mice here, so I'll just grab the other one. Apologies. There we go. So the payslips menu, or again, you can use process icon number 5. Okay, so payslips, as we said, can be emailed or printed. So generally speaking, you would be issuing all the payslips at one time. So you can simply just click on Select All and Print, or if you prefer to email the payslips using the drop-down menu here, you can select Email Payslips. Okay. So when you use the email payslip option, it is only going to show you the employees that have email addresses entered for them. So you can see one of my employees disappeared there as they don't have an email address in for them. Okay. You do have the option as well. Some people may be printing some payslips and emailing maybe other payslips. So when you go to print payslips, there is the option to exclude employees with email addresses from printing, and that maybe just makes it easier for you rather than having to go and deselect certain people when you're, issuing the printed payslips. Okay, and then you would just issue the payment then as required, so your bank payment file, etc. Okay, so in addition then you would prepare and submit the final P30. So on completion of the final pay period for the tax year, you would prepare and submit the final P30 to ROS. So you access the ROS menu within the software and the P30 option. And I'm sure everybody knows there's two different P30 report options on the software, the by date and by week number. So you just check the one that you would, select the one that you would normally use, so just be consistent with it. Okay. So you review the P30 totals for the period, so the month ending the 31st of December or the quarter ending the 31st of December. So just review the figures and ensure that you're happy with them. Okay. You submit the P30 for the period and arrange payment to revenue in accordance with the deadline, and you update the payment record within Thesaurus Payroll Manager. So again, we'll just pop back into the software for a moment. The mouse is working again, actually. So the ROS menu and P30. So I'm just going to select the P30 by date. So as I said, just be consistent and choose the one that you would normally choose. Okay, so whether you're monthly or quarterly, so just review the last periodic column. So December here, or the quarterly then if you're on a quarterly return. Okay. And once you have made your payment, you can update the payments record then within Thesaurus Payroll Manager. So by clicking on payments here, just enter in the corresponding pay date. And you can see that this does accept a pay date outside of the tax year because you have the, the deadline is outside of the tax year. Update, and when we pop back in then, okay, so we can see the payment record updated there for month end December 17. Okay, so anyone who's doing the ROS P30, just click on the ROS option and select your monthly or quarterly, whichever the applicable one is. Okay, the period start date. Okay, and the figures will populate for you, and you can simply prepare file and save as normal to upload to ROS. Okay, so employer paid medical insurance, I suppose this gets quite topical at the, well, not really at the end of the year, more in the new year when people are preparing their P35. But when an employer pays medical insurance on behalf of employees, employers are required to include the portion of the medical insurance premium that is eligible for tax relief for each employee on the P35. So the medical insurance providers should advise employers of the amounts for each employee. We do get calls asking us for the amounts, but unfortunately it does have to come from the medical insurance providers. So these amounts must be input into the payroll for all applicable employees prior to submitting the P35. And Thesaurus Payroll Manager will not prepare a P35 until this requirement is met. So we know that the file will fail without that information, so we don't allow you to prepare it without it being complete for all relevant employees. So this only affects employers with employees on the payroll for whom there is a medical insurance benefit. Okay. So from the utilities menu, you would choose input medical insurance eligible for tax relief, and all employees will be listed. So you should choose the first employee record for whom a medical insurance benefit exists. You can either enter the tax relief at source or the medical insurance eligible for tax relief as advised by the medical insurance company. Okay. So any TRS figure that you enter will automatically be incremented to give the amount that's eligible for tax relief, and the amount cannot exceed the taxable premium paid by the employer. Okay, so you simply enter it and click on update then just to save the entry within the software. So again, we'll pop back into the program. Okay, so the utilities menu and input medical insurance eligible for tax relief. Using the drop-down menu, then select any relevant employees. So I have Mary Byrne there with a medical insurance benefit of €987. So I simply need to instruct the software then how much of that is eligible for tax relief. Okay, so in this case the whole premium is eligible for tax relief. So I enter in my 987 and click on update then just to save that. So it's telling me the employee has been updated and I just say OK. Okay, so as I said, without putting that in, the program wouldn't allow you to prepare the ROS P35. Okay. Okay, so end of year reports then. I suppose it's good practice just to review any end of year reports within the software to ensure that you are satisfied with the final payroll information and figures prior to proceeding to the P35 submission. So you can access the year-end report by going to P35 and P60s and select the P35 spreadsheet file copy. So this report gives a full listing of all employees that were employed with you for the tax year for all pay frequencies. So any person that has been on the payroll, be it for 1 week or 1 month, you know, if they've been paid at all this tax year, they'll be on that report for you. Okay, so you should review the P35 report. The employee wages as processed on the software each pay period will be accumulated and displayed for you. And this is the information that is going to be transferred on the P35 file for ROS transmission. So you should ensure firstly that all employees that you have employed, so it's, you know, this is anybody that's gone through the payroll software. If there is somebody that for whatever reason wasn't on the payroll software but has been employed or paid during the year, you know, they need to be entered onto the system before doing your P35. You should ensure that all employees have a PPS number present. In the absence of a PPS number, the date of birth and address should be entered for the P35, you know, before the P35 is submitted to revenue. And where there has been a deduction of LPT, the PPS number is mandatory. So revenue will reject a P35 if there's an LPT figure but no PPS number entered on for the employee. This is just something to be mindful of. If any employee had multiple employments during the tax year, the system will automatically amalgamate those records when preparing the ROS P35. So revenue will only accept 1 record per PPS number. So the system automatically does that in the background without you having to do anything. You know, it does it automatically. Okay, so reviewing the P35 report. So if there are any errors or submissions on the report, they should be rectified before proceeding to preparing and submitting the P35. So the reverse update function on the software can be used to revise any, I suppose, pay information. And for information that has been omitted, such as a PPS number, you can simply go to Add and Amend Employees to enter any additional information. So again, we'll just pop back into the software for a second. Okay, so P35 P60s and P35 spreadsheet file copy. So this report is actually available for you for the entire year, so it doesn't get released with the year-end upgrade. You know, this is available all the year through, and it can be a handy report just to review periodically. So if we notice now that somebody's PPS number wasn't present, we could simply just close out of this report and go to Add and Amend Employees to enter that additional information. Okay. So prior to submitting the P35, the payment status should be established. So I mean, you should be aware, you know, if there's a balance owed to revenue on submission of the P35, in addition to the periodical P30 payments that have been made. So for example, you may be on a standing order with revenue, and perhaps it isn't covering, you know, the liability. So you should just be aware of, you know, whether there's a balance payable or not. If there's been an overpayment, therefore you're in a reclaimable position, or if there's a zero balance. So you should just know what that status is, I suppose, before you would go ahead and, you know, submit the P35 to revenue. You should reconcile the payments made to revenue as per the ROS account. And this can be done by preparing a ROS statement of 2017 payments that have been made on account. Okay, so to prepare a ROS statement of 2017 payments that have been made, you can check your periodical P30 payments made on account to revenue for the tax year 2017 by logging into your ROS account and selecting Revenue Record. So from the options menu on the left-hand side, you should be able to see it on the print screen there. You choose payments, and the tax type you select should be PAYE EMP, and for the tax year 2017. So all payments made for the tax year will be displayed on screen. Okay. So the P35 deadline is the 15th of February, or 46 days after the cessation of a business. So any business that ceases trading during the year, their deadline is 46 days after the cessation of the business. But for everybody else, it's the 15th of February. When you are happy that your payroll is complete for the tax year, you can proceed to prepare and submit your P35. To prepare the P35 for ROS, you access the P35 P60s menu and choose ROS P35. Okay. Ensure all validation issues have been resolved and enter the contact details as desired. So if Thesaurus recognises that there's any missing information, so for example, if you hadn't entered in the medical insurance eligible for tax relief, the system would throw up a validation issue, and it's important that all of those issues would be addressed before you, prepare and attempt to submit your P35 to revenue. So we'll just pop back into the software now just to look at preparing the P35. Okay, so again, P35 P60s and ROS P35. We will always ask you just to check and make sure that you're on the latest version. So just if something did come to light, I suppose after the year-end upgrade has been released, if an issue did come to light, we would release an upgrade, in light of that. So it's just always worthwhile checking that you're on the latest version. And saying that, once you've got an internet connection, when you open the software, it'll automatically do that check for you. But it's still no harm to go to help and check for updates. Okay, so prepare the P35 file for ROS transmission. So if the company address isn't present, that just means it's not an amend company details, you can enter it here, but it's optional, it's not mandatory. The contact name and phone number. Okay. Vicky will talk during her little bit about the amended or supplementary P35, so I won't speak about that for the moment. And I'm just going to click on continue. By default, the program will save the ROS submission into the C drive, the ROS folder, and a P35L folder. If you need it saved somewhere else, so for example, maybe ROS is on a different PC, so you want to put it on a USB key maybe, you can simply just click on browse and browse to your desired location. So once you're happy with the location the file is going to be saved to, you can simply just click on Prepare File. Okay, it just comes up to tell me that the ROS file has been copied to the specified location, and it'll always be named the last 5 characters of the PAYE reference number, dash the year .P35. And I simply say OK. So that's now saved, ready for upload to ROS. If you like, you can click on View ROS P35 XML file. Okay, so it's just telling me if I notice anything that needs changing. So this is the version that goes to revenue. It's not maybe the easiest thing to read. It is basically a copy of what's on the P35 spreadsheet file copy. But this is the revenue spec, and some people just like to look at it before they submit it to ROS. Okay. So I'm simply just going to close out of there. Okay, so I'm going to hand you over back to Vicky, and she'll continue on there. Thank you.
Many thanks, Audrey. Just bear with me there, we just swap seats there. Okay, so Audrey's kind of done the hard work for me there. You've gone and prepared, checked all your figures in the software and prepared the P35 files. So now you are ready to submit that P35 ROS file up into the Revenue Online service. Okay. So the starting point to do that is to first log into your ROS account, and you can do that via the Revenue website, www.revenue.ie. On the website there, you'll have the option to click on ROS Login, and that will bring you through to the screen that you're seeing here on the PowerPoint slide. All you need to do then is select your certificate and enter the associated password with your digital certificate there, and click the button to log into ROS. Okay, what will happen next is that you'll be brought automatically into the My Services screen of your Revenue Online Service account. Here you'll find a few options listed, but the one you need to choose is the Upload Forms Completed Offline section. You'll be given a drop-down menu. There's a variety of items in that drop-down listing, and you're going to choose P35L and followed by Upload Return. Okay, this will open a new window for you, and what you're going to do now is click on Add File, and all you need to do then is browse to the location of where you have saved your P35 file that you generated in the Payroll Manager software. Okay, Audrey mentioned there that the default location is your C drive, your ROS folder, and the subfolder P35L. So most people will be browsing to that location. In that folder then you'll find your P35 file, and as Audrey mentioned, it's the last 4 digits of your PAYE number and the letter, and then it will be -17 for the 2017 tax year. So you're going to select the file, okay, click on Open, and you need to see that file displayed in this box. This box will be blank initially, but once you've added file and browse to it, it will be showing here. So at that point you can then enter your password again, here enter your password and upload file. Okay. Basically what will happen then is that ROS will read the contents of your P35 ROS file that you've prepared in Thesaurus, and it will display everything on the screen for you. So your P35L, your P35LT if relevant, your P35LF report and P35 declaration will all be displayed for you to check through. You'll also have a P30 payment details section, and this is going to total all the payments you have submitted for 2017. I suppose we must point out here that these figures that you see at this point are taken directly from your account with revenue and not from that payment record that Audrey showed you that's in Payroll Manager. Okay, so if there is a difference between the figures you're seeing and what's in Payroll Manager, it's basically possibly because the Payroll Manager screen hasn't, not everything's been recorded. So really the figure displayed is what has been physically paid to revenue. That's where the figures are derived from. Okay, so it's just worth noting that. You'll also have the P35 summary that will be showing for you as well, and that's going to indicate whether you have a balance outstanding to revenue, or whether you have a nil balance, or whether you are in a refund situation. And again, how this is derived is basically it's reading your totals from your P35 ROS file that you've just uploaded and the payments that revenue have on account for you, and it's basically working out what the difference is. Okay, so what you then must do then, so once you've established, your situation, whether you owe an amount or not, the next thing then is to choose what type of file you are going to return here. So you'll have a choice. You can either choose to make a payment now to ROS for the amount outstanding, or to file a return only. So if you are in a refund position or you have a nil balance, you'll probably be opting for that file return only there. And I'll go through the 2 options here now for you. It's just worth pointing out, you can see our little kind of statement at the bottom that if the amount displayed is equal to your December P30 amount and you have already arranged payment for that, it is important not to repeat the payment. There can sometimes be a timing delay. You may have only just put payment through and then you've immediately gone and filed your P35 file. Revenue won't have had time to pick up on that payment, so the balance that you are seeing might not always be the accurate. So you need to be aware of any payments that you have made that might not have been picked up yet. Okay, so it's important just to double check everything before you move on at this point. So if you are choosing to make a payment, so you have a balance outstanding, you're going to then choose to make a payment, and that will be one of the options given to you. And what you need to do then is just first of all choose your payment method. You can see here that you can either choose ROS debit instruction or a card payment. You then just need to enter your payment amount. When you see payment amount, these boxes will be filled in with the amounts. So you just need to enter your total payment amount there in the field provided and enter the date of your payment. And if you are paying by ROS debit instruction, you can set that payment date to be the 23rd of February. Okay. Once this screen is complete, you click on Next. Okay, and the next screen will just ask you to confirm payment. So it's kind of the point of no return here when you click on OK. This will take you through then to enter your password again, and you'll be given then the final button to press, which is Sign and Submit. And that is the point where you're signing off on everything and your P35 submission has taken place. You'll then receive an acknowledgement, and on that acknowledgement will be a confirmation number, and we advise that you just make a note of that number because that's proof that your P35 submission has gone through and has been accepted. And ROS will also send you a copy of that acknowledgement into your ROS inbox as well. So if there's ever any queries about it, then you've always got that acknowledgement number to refer back to. If you're selecting the option to file a return only, okay, you're going to choose that option on screen, okay, and again you click on Next, and again you just enter your password, your ROS password again, and again just select that Sign and Submit button to basically sign off on everything and submit your P35. And again, the same process, you'll get an acknowledgement number again, and again just make a note of it, and again you'll get confirmation into your ROS inbox as well. Okay, and that's your upload complete at that point. Okay. It's probably just worth mentioning here what to do if you operate multiple payrolls under one PAYE number. Probably for the majority of you listening today, this might not be applicable to you. You may just have just the one setup of your payroll, the one person doing it, and you've got a single P35 file to upload. However, there may be some of you there that are operating multiple payrolls which fall under the same PAYE number. And probably a couple of examples we can give you here where that will possibly happen. Say, for example, you are a shop and you have various branches, and each branch is responsible for doing the payroll of that branch, but those branches all fall under the same employer number, okay? So that would be an example where multiple payrolls are operating. It could be as well, for example, if I just use Audrey here, you know that we work in a company. Audrey looks after the weekly payroll and she has the weekly payroll on her computer. I do the monthly payroll on my own computer. So the payroll has been split up. What is important then, that when you are filing your P35 file into the ROS system, it's important that all parts of the, so all separate payrolls that make up the PAYE number are uploaded all at the same time, okay? So it does require each individual payroll operator to prepare their P35 file, and they all need saving into the one location and adding in together. The way to do that, if I just pop back to, I just want to come back to my desktop screen here to show you here. What you would have to do in this situation is, for example, I would first prepare my P35 file in my own payroll setup, and I save it into a folder here. So my file will be called here. I have the last 4 digits of my PAYE number, the year P35, okay? What Audrey would then have to do, using our little example here, she would have to prepare the P35 file as well on her payroll. And then we would then have to put those 2 P35 files into the one folder. Obviously, they'll have the same name, so one of the files just needs renaming to something slightly different so I can have those 2 files together. Okay, so here I've renamed one to A, so I can hold them both in the same folder. Okay. What you then do when you are in ROS and you're at the Add File stage, when you click on Add File, you will browse to that folder which holds all parts of the P35s, and you basically hold down your Control button and select all the files associated with the PAYE number, and you add them in at the same time. So you have all the parts here showing. Okay, and then you click on upload file, and the process that we've just been through is exactly the same. Okay, it really is important. You know, what can happen is that somebody goes ahead and they upload their P35, and somebody else, the other shop, for example, then goes, well, I've still got mine to file, so they all need to kind of go together, otherwise you're going down the supplementary P35 route. Okay, so I hope that makes sense to anybody who operates multiple payrolls in that manner. Okay. We'll just talk about then what happens if you need to make corrections to employees after you have filed your original P35 return. Two types of amendments are possible here. You can submit an amended P35 to revenue, or a supplementary P35, and it just depends on the correction that you need to make. We'll start first of all with amended P35. So an amended P35 return is used where the employer wishes to change details relating to one employee or more than one employee who was already included on the original P35 return that you made. So you popped your original one through, the employee was on there, you're now making a change to their pay details. Okay. This requires an amended P35 to be generated and uploaded. And what the amended return does, it completely replaces your original P35 return. So it's going, it's just going over the top of it basically, excuse me, and superseding the original one. Before you do submit a P35, if you have to, you should always wait for a receipt of your original P35 return. Revenue would say that it does take 48 hours to process a P35 return. So if you are in the situation where you need to submit an amended P35, it's just to be aware of that timing there and make sure that you have confirmation that your original P35 has been accepted, and check your ROS inbox for that. Okay. Amended P35s are facilitated in Thesaurus Payroll Manager, and I will just click back here. Okay, so to prepare an amended P35, it's where Audrey went in before to do the original. So I'm going to click on P35 P60s into the ROS P35 option. Okay, and all I do here is I tick to say that it's an amended P35, okay, and you'll just get a little warning. Are you sure you want to prepare an amended P35? You say yes, continue, and prepare your file, okay. And then the upload to ROS is just what we've shown you this morning there. You're going to go to upload a file return offline, and it's the P35L option again for you, okay. A supplementary P35 then is where an employee has been completely omitted from your original P35 return. So you've filed your original P35 return, then it may come to light that you've an employee, or what often happens, it's the director actually, that wasn't on the original. You need to actually enter their record and account for them. So it's where they weren't on the original at all. And what a supplementary P35 return does, it simply adds an employee record to your original return. So rather than replacing it like the amended P35 does, the supplementary adds to it. Okay. Once again, you should wait for receipt of your original P35 return by checking your ROS inbox before attempting to file a supplementary P35. Okay. Where you have submitted your P35 file, your original one, and you've used our software, for example, and it comes to light that you're just missing maybe 1 or 2 employees, then what you will have to do is do an online supplementary P35. You can't do that through Thesaurus, unfortunately, so you just need to log into ROS and do an online supplementary instead. However, if it comes to light that all employees that are in your Thesaurus Payroll Manager have been omitted from the original, then you can do the supplementary P35 using our software. And again, it comes back to maybe multiple payrolls under the same PAYE number. Maybe somebody's gone ahead and uploaded their P35 file, and then say Audrey comes along and says, oh, I never did mine. So it's where, all employees in the software are completely, they weren't included at all. Okay. to do that, sorry, just bear with me there. So if you are in that situation where the whole of the employees on your payroll have been missed off, then you can pop into the P35 ROS option again in Thesaurus and tick here to do your supplementary. Okay, and click on yes here. Okay, and again, the upload process is exactly the same as what we've shown you this morning. Okay. Okay, so just moving on then, supposed to your final task of the year-end process, and that's regarding P60s. Okay, so every employee in your employment on the 31st of December are entitled to a P60 certificate, and it's basically a breakdown of their income and deductions in the tax year. Okay, it's important to point out, we do get a good few calls on this, that P60s are only issued to those employees that are there at the 31st of December. If you've P45'd anybody on any other date of the year, be it the 30th of December, they will not be entitled to a P60. Anyone leaving though on the 31st of December will get their P60 as well as a P45. Okay, it's the norm nowadays that only one copy is required to be given to each employee. Okay, and your deadline date is the 15th of February to issue those P60s. Okay. Revenue do state that the P60 need only be made available to employees. So with this, it does mean that you can email P60s rather than print them off. Okay, as long as the P60 is in Revenue's format, that an approved format. It used to be that you could get P60 stationery from Revenue, but that is no longer done. So all payroll software providers now do allow you to print the P60s onto plain A4 paper. Okay, so the Thesaurus Payroll Manager does do your P60s for you. You can print them or email them through the software, and if required, you can also print them or email them in the Irish language as well. So I'm just going to pop back into the software to show you. Okay, so to do your P60s, you're going to click on the P35 P60 menu, into the P60s option here, okay, and you're just going to, the employees will be listed, and so I'm just going to untick that box there, and you can just preview one on screen first just to make sure it's okay. All right, so that is the template for you. Okay, and when ready, you can either choose print or email, and again, only those employees who have email addresses entered will be displayed for emailing there. Okay, if you wish to print zero P60s, you can do so by ticking the button here at the bottom. By default, that is unticked for you, and here is the option here to print in the Irish language as well. Okay. If you have two pay frequencies running, then obviously once you've done one pay frequency, you can just pop into Window and switch to your other pay frequency and repeat that process for your other employees there. Okay, something we get a good few calls on as well with regard to printing P60s. Just make sure that your printer settings are set to A4. If you have your printer settings set to letter, a good few people find that when they print a P60 that it is cut off, it's going on to 2 pages. You'll see that there's an awful lot of information to fit onto the page. So you must just ensure that your paper size is A4. And we just recommend just doing a test run. So if you have a good few employees to print for, just maybe select one, do a print, and just make sure that it's printing correctly for you. Okay. Okay, and I've just shown you how to do the P60s in the software, so this is just the PowerPoint slides here relevant to that. Okay, so that's your year-end process covered for you. We just wanted as well just to maybe remind you about the small benefit exemption that is in place here in Ireland. Okay, this time of year you may be considering, you know, giving your employees maybe a bonus at Christmas time. or some kind, some kind of reward. So it's maybe worth remembering about the small benefit exemption that you can avail of. Okay. So basically what the small benefit exemption is that it allows employers to provide a small non-cash benefit to their employees up to the value of €500. Okay. So if you were thinking of giving a bonus, rather than give it in cash, which would be subject to PAYE, USC and PRSI, you can opt for maybe a non-cash benefit, for example, a voucher, and there will be nothing charged on it. So there'll be no PAYE, USC or PRSI charged on that. So it's fully tax-free, basically. Okay. So the value is €500, so anything up to €500. What you must just remember, however, is that it is just one benefit that you can give in any one tax year. So what you can't do is give a voucher for €250 at the beginning of the year and maybe give another one at the end of the year. So then the small benefit exemption doesn't apply. You kind of sacrifice that, okay? And also as well, you have to just remember that if you give a voucher, for example, of €600, because it's exceeded the threshold of 500, it does become fully subject to PAYE, USC and PRSI. So that is just things to be aware of, okay? And also as well, the non-cash benefit cannot be part of a salary sacrifice scheme either, okay? So those are just the requirements if you are thinking of availing of the small benefit exemption, okay? So as said, probably the most popular use of the small benefit scheme would be to give a voucher around Christmas time as opposed to a cash bonus, okay? And just to kind of covered gift card integration. Again, this is something we brought into Thesaurus Payroll Manager last year, so it was our first year of gift card integration, and we're continuing on with that this year as well. Okay, so what the gift card integration does is it allows you to order vouchers for either one for all or me to you through our software, basically. The advantages maybe of ordering through Payroll Manager, so ordering your gift cards through our software rather than, say, popping down to the post office, for example, is first of all, there's no charge to you. If you do go and get your gift cards from the post office, there is a fee of €2.50 for the first card that you purchase, and then a fee of 50 cents, is it, Audrey? 50 cents for each card thereafter, okay? So by ordering through our software, you are not being charged at all. Also to consider as well, if you decided to order vouchers through Thesaurus, is that it does offer the option to pay by EFT. This isn't available to regular customers, so again, if you're going down to the post office, you're not given that option. However, ordering through our software, and when you get to the one for all or the me to you website to complete your order, you are given the option to do an EFT instead. Okay. Probably the most important things as well of ordering your cards through Thesaurus Payroll Manager is it does track your gift card purchases. Bearing in mind that exemption limit of €500, what the software will do is keep a track of what you have ordered. So it will stop you accidentally going and purchasing another gift card for somebody when one has already been purchased in the year. Okay. Just with regard to that, we do track orders in the software using PPS numbers, but that information is not passed on to the gift card companies at all. It's simply used for tracking purposes within the software. Okay. So I'll just show you the gift card integration in the software if you're thinking of going down that route. Sorry, just let me bring up the screens. Okay. So you'll see here that you have process icon number 8, which will take you into the gift card facility, or you can click on gift cards on the menu bar and order gift cards for employees. Okay. The first thing to do if you're ordering through Thesaurus is to just enter your contact information, your address details, etc. I just have to have a full name in here. Okay, and just see that I have my employees listed. So if I'm going ahead and ordering cards for my 4 employees here, all I do is select my card value. So I'll be kind, I'll give Maria Woods the full 500, Maryburn, maybe choose 300 there. Stephen Jones, I'll just leave. And Tom Dunn, we'll say 400 for him. Okay, and you can see order pending. This by default, this screen here is for one for all. So if you were thinking of ordering me to you gift cards instead, just make sure you tick the button at the very bottom here to have the setting to go to the me to you website instead. Okay. When ready, click on Proceed to Gift Card website. Okay. And this will connect to one for all here. Okay, and you'll see here then that the gift cards you would like to order will be displayed on screen. You can amend here if you need to, and proceed to check out where you can pay either by card or opt for EFT. If paying by EFT, you do get sent an invoice from One for All, and then you just do a bank transfer then to them just to pay for the gift cards. Okay, once the screen is complete, if I return to the software then, Thesaurus is just asking, did you complete this order? If you did, you just say yes. If no, it will basically reset those employees to no gift cards ordered as yet. So I'm going to say yes here. Okay, and when I go back into that screen now, you can see here that I can clearly see that I've already ordered gift cards for several of my employees there. A history is held view as well. If I go back to gift cards and view history here, you can see clearly then the amounts that I have ordered there. If for any reason a gift card that I put through Thesaurus didn't go ahead, then you can reset the value here. I can say that that actually, you know, for Joe Adams didn't happen. Set it to 0. Close, and you know his tracking then is set to 0. Though I can go ahead then and you know apply another gift card at a later date. Okay, so again we just have the print screens here for you if need be. So I'm just going to pass you back to Audrey now just to finish off.
Just 1 second there till we change seats. Perfect, thanks Vicky. Okay, so it's time then I suppose just to talk about PAYE modernisation. So this may be something I suppose that some of you are aware of, maybe all of you. Not really sure, but we're just trying to I suppose just get the message out that PAYE modernisation is on the way. So what this means is it's real-time reporting for payroll, and this will come into effect on the 1st of January 2019, so I suppose you could say it's a year away. And this means that every time you pay employees, a file must be sent electronically to revenue, detailing pay, deductions, you know, and start or leaver information. So if you've a weekly payroll, I suppose you'll have 52 submissions every year instead of your normal, you know, one submission at the end of the year being your P35. The contents of the file that will be submitted will be similar to the current annual P35 submission, but just that it's every single pay period. The real-time information will enable revenue to ensure that employees are receiving the correct tax credits and cut-off points. So revenue believe, I suppose, that a lot of people are not, either maybe they're not availing of the correct tax credits, or perhaps employers are not updating P2C files, so you know the information on the payroll system for employees, you know, perhaps isn't up to date. So this will allow them then just to keep on top of that and review the information that's, you know, they can review the information more often, more frequently. Employees will be able to log on to their revenue account and view the information that the employer has submitted in respect for them. So there's a lot of transparency there, I suppose. You know, employees will be able to go on and check that information. So although they'll get it on their payslip, they can also see what revenue have on the system for them. Okay. So this should simplify the payroll process because it brings the abolition of the P45, P46, P45 Part 3, P60, P30 and P35. So effectively all of the P returns will no longer be required under the PAYE modernisation system. The payroll software will automatically submit the periodic files to Revenue, and this will be using your Revenue user credentials. So once they're present on the software, it'll be a click of a button, if you like, just to send that submission to them. Illness benefit taxation will be facilitated by the new system, but in actual fact, the taxation of illness benefit is changing with effect from the 1st of January 2018. So although I suppose it was prompted by PAYE Modernisation, it's not waiting for it. So this will be taxed by Revenue from the 1st of January 2018, and it'll be taxed via a reduction in tax credits and cut-off points. So the same way they currently tax maternity and paternity benefit. This will mean there will be, an awful lot more frequent P2C files issued. If you think about, I suppose, the number of times, I don't know, I'm sure Revenue have the numbers, but how many employees, avail of, claim illness benefit within a tax year. So this is going to have, a huge effect on the issuing of P2C files. So there will be, I suppose, a greater onus on employers, or the payroll person, to import those P2C files, much more frequently. So as soon as they're issued, they do need to be imported into the payroll software. Payment arrangements to Revenue will continue as they are. So although you will be submitting a payroll file each time you pay your employees, the payment arrangement will stay as it is. So if you currently pay Revenue on a monthly basis, that will continue, or if you pay them quarterly, again, that will continue. So the payment arrangement will stay the same. Employers will be able to view their liability online in their Revenue account. So you'll be updating your submissions, sending your submissions to Revenue, and at any time you'll be able to log in and see, the liability that they have for the employer. So, it should represent a positive change. I'm sure it's quite daunting, and it's, it'll be something new for everybody. But I think, all in all, it should certainly be a positive change, because, you won't have that pressure of year end and, an awful lot of submissions that you'll no longer need to be sent because, no longer need to send, as they'll be incorporated into the periodic submission. But it'll probably just take us all a little while maybe to get used to it. So we are currently liaising with Revenue through the payroll software representative body, the PSDA, and this is just to help ensure that the final version of PAYE Modernisation, is workable for everybody, and that it will be ready for the implementation by 2019. I suppose we have the advantage that we've been through this on the, in the UK, so we have the experience there, and our developers have the experience, and even the support team, I suppose, we're familiar with these, submissions to the Revenue in the UK, which is the HMRC. So that should help us certainly, when PAYE Modernisation does come in just over a year's time. In keeping with our pricing culture, there won't be any additional charge for the new functionality, so it's just something that has to happen, and there won't be any additional charges for that. Okay. So we will be doing some PAYE Modernisation webinars. I think we have some scheduled for January. So if anybody wants to keep an eye on the events page on the website and register for those if that's of interest. Okay. Okay, so we'll just move on then to look at some new features in Thesaurus Payroll Manager. So we obviously have the budget changes that are programmed into the 2018 software, but we do have a number of new features as well. Most of the new features, I suppose, have been prompted by the upcoming GDPR changes and PAYE Modernisation. I suppose we're trying to get a little bit ahead, maybe, maybe make some changes this year that will help the, the move then next year. So the first new feature we have is that we have an automated password retrieval. So I can just pop into the software for a second and just show you how this is going to work. Just one second. Okay, so this is my 2018 software. Okay. So for anyone who currently has an employer email address on the system, when you open up your 2018 software, you will see this message, and it's telling you that for the automated password retrieval, you do need to have, an email address in. It is going to use the employer email address, but alternatively, you can put in a separate email address for password retrieval. So if I just go to the File menu and amend company details, Okay, so if you had an employer email address in, it would be entered here, but you also have the option of putting in a password recovery email address. So for most people, I'm sure the password recovery email address will be the same, and if that is the case, you don't need to have it in both. You can simply just put it into the employer email address, but that option is there. Okay, I'm just going to click on Save there. So what this means is, and I know we have so many passwords now for passwords and passcodes for everything in our lives. So if you do set a password and you don't remember it, provided you have an email address on the system, you can use this option now, click a forgotten password. So it's telling me that this will email a replacement password to the recovery email address, or if it's not present, the employer email address. Are you sure you wish to continue? Yes. So it's telling me there replacement password is in the process of being emailed. It can take up to 15 minutes. So it's a very secure way of getting, you know, your password reset for your payroll. Okay. So the second thing we have done is, I suppose, to place, you know, more emphasis on the P2C import. And we also have a new feature then of P2C import logs. So this is certainly prompted by the change to the taxation of illness benefit. As I said, there will be, you know, much more frequent issuing of P2C files. So the system, I suppose, is trying to emphasize how important it is that they are imported. Okay. So I suppose the first place maybe you will see it is, well, firstly, if you haven't imported P2C files and you go to update the payroll, the system will tell you, you know, that you haven't imported any P2C files. And secondly, when you go to update the payslips, you can see we have this new section here, latest P2C details imported. So every time I go to update my payroll, not only can I see when my payroll was last updated, but I can also see the date of my last P2C file and the date that that file was imported. So certainly if you're aware that somebody has been out sick, you know, and you see that there hasn't been a P2C file imported for a while, you should definitely, you know, log into ROS and see if there's any amended P2C files for you. So that's a new change that we have made just to make, I suppose, to remind people about the need to check more often for the amended P2C files. Additionally then, under the ROS menu on P2C, we have logs, so view logs. So this is a log of any P2C imports. I mean, I've only done one, so I've just got one there for everybody. But if you had imported some in December, for example, some in February, so you'll have the complete log here. So it's just a good way to just go and check the P2C, you know, the history, if you like, of the P2Cs. Okay. So the next new feature that we have then is direct emailing of a single PDF document containing all employee payslips. So again, we'll just pop back into the software and just have a look at this. So when I go to payslips and print email payslips, I have this option here of email payslips as one PDF document. So it could be a case maybe that you're doing payroll and you have to send payslips, you know, all the payslips maybe to a manager, or it could be that you're doing payroll for a client, whatever the case may be. So if you click on Select All, you can then click on Email Payslips as one PDF document. Now it's coming up here to tell me that I must enter a report email address. So everybody will have to enter this initially in 2018, and once it's entered once, then it'll be there for you going forward. So I'm just going to say OK. So this again brings me back into File and Amend Company Details, and you can see now we have the section for report emailing. So I can enter in an email address for report emailing. So this is where my email reports are going to go to. Okay. I have the option then of putting in a password, so making the PDF reports password protected, and we would advise that this is done in all circumstances and not to use something like pass as I have done, but just something to make those documents more secure if somebody gets access to email, etc. We also have an option then of entering an email address for the CC to be sent. So if you want a carbon copy to be sent to someone else, you can enter in an additional email address. If that's not relevant to you, then you can just ignore that and save. Okay. So now back in my print payslips, I can click on Email Payslips as one PDF document. Okay, so it's asking me, would I like to email the payslips to the email address that I've entered? And it just shows you the password there. And I can click on yes. So the payslips were sent. So that's sent one document with the 5 employee payslips on it. Okay. Hopefully you will appreciate some of the new features. I mean, some of them certainly are as a result of customer feedback as well. So another option we have included is the direct emailing of the payroll preview report, the payroll summary, and P30 report. So you can email those directly from the software in 2018. So we'll just pop in and have a look at that. Okay, so if we look at the payroll preview, they'll all work in exactly the same way. So we'll just look at the payroll preview option and you'll just get a feel for how it works. So I've accessed my payroll preview. Okay, and you can see this new option now of email. So again, it just asks me, would you like to email this report to the email address on file? And I simply say yes, and it emails it for me. Okay, now maybe that's more relevant to bureaus, but it could be a case that the director in your company or the manager, you know, that somebody wants to receive them. So it just saves you now having to print them perhaps to PDF and emailing them separately. So this is a direct email. Okay, so in preparation then, I suppose, for PAYE or modernisation, Revenue will be asking all employers to upload an employee listing towards the end of 2018. So probably sometime, you know, between July and October, they're going to ask all employers to upload an employee listing. And this really is a way of Revenue just aligning their records and being as prepared as possible for PAYE or modernisation and making sure they have the right employers linked to the correct employers, etc. So we have this incorporated into the first release version of 2018. So if I just go back into the software again. So under the ROS menu, you can see a list of employees. Okay, and again, if you wish, you can put in the contact details. Continue. So the default location is just C and the ROS folder, prepare file. Okay, so your file has been prepared and is named. And again, I can view the XML if I like. Okay, so it's a simple file just with the employee name, PPS number, etc. But that's something that Revenue are going to look for, and it's there ready within the software for when you get that request. Okay. This definitely, I think, has been quite a popular request. Lever rejoining, we have called it, and this is the ability, the software will copy a lever record, so copy the basic details, the name, address, etc. So if you've got somebody who has previously left in the current tax year or the previous tax year, you can now copy their details. So this creates a new record for that employee that previously left to save you having to, you know, type in all of their details again. So we'll just have a look at that now. Actually, I need to just go into the other company for this, just 1 second. Okay, so you'll see now this option, lever rejoining. So when you click on that, it'll list any employees that have left, as I said, in the current tax year or the previous tax year, and allow you then to copy their record, to add them back to the payroll system again. So you'll still have them, if they left this tax year, you'd still have them twice and add and amend employees, but only one of them is an active record. And as I said, it just saves you having to add them in again. So I can simply just double click. Okay, so that's that employee's information now ready to add to the payroll again. So it's a much quicker way of, re-adding an employee to the payroll. And I'll say the payroll side class. Okay, and update. Okay. For bureau users then, we now have what's called late payrolls. So bureau users can now check to see if any payrolls are late. It's not really going to work for me today because we're not in 2018 yet, but on the Open Company screen there's a button for late payrolls, and it will just show you any payrolls, any employers that the system believes the payroll is late for. So a few new features, that you can look forward to in 2018. Just while we're talking about it, the release date for 2018 is currently scheduled to be the 15th of December.
A few of you may also have noticed today that the P2C files have been released for 2018. They seem to have come in to a few people today. So if you are in receipt of that email, to let you know, just hold on tight. And then, like Audrey said, the software will be released next Friday. Okay, so that concludes our presentation for you. So just in regards to some questions and answers, we have a few questions in, so we'll just run through them. I'm conscious we've just run over our 60 minutes. So we won't keep you too long more. So the first question in, we occasionally pay casual staff during busy periods from petty cash who are not set up on Thesaurus. Is there any way we can add in a total figure for this in the P35 without it having been included in any monthly P30?
Looking at me.
Over to Audrey.
I suppose, okay, this is not something that we would recommend doing. I mean, anybody who's being paid, to be honest with you, should be on the payroll system. Because if you're doing it from petty cash, I'm not really sure how you're working out tax, PRSI, USC. So, I mean, we do have an option on the software of, you know, where you can add in an employee and amend employee cumulative. So this would allow you to enter in what you paid to the employee, but it doesn't do any calculations for you. So it's not going to calculate tax, USC, PRSI. So I mean, certainly going forward, if you're taking on anybody, even if it's only for one day, we would recommend that you put them on the software. You know, use emergency tax if you don't have a tax credit certificate for them, and then they will automatically flow through to the P35 for you. But if you do need to go down that other route, maybe worth just checking with your accountant perhaps. But if you go to the help menu and about Thesaurus Payroll, this is not really a function that we like telling people about, but there is an F6 option. No, I've got a function lock here. Oh. I think I hit the wrong one. Okay. So firstly, yes, this is telling me that any changes that I make here, you know, will not flow through to any tax deduction cards, P30s, etc. But it will impact on the P35 and P60. So I'll just say yes here just for a moment, just to show you. So this would allow you to select somebody you've added to the payroll and key in any pay items, etc. But I must stress that it doesn't do any calculations. You know, it's simply a tool for you to record, you know, pay and deductions to flow through to the P35. Yeah. But yeah, not something we would recommend.
Use responsibility with this screen. Yeah.
Yeah, if you make any changes, then you can click on update. But it's not really designed for that situation. But if you want to talk to us further, I mean, there's no issue. Okay.
Okay. Medical insurance paid for directors, has this to be processed through payroll, or can it be left for their personal tax return?
Okay, so I suppose once it's done, I wouldn't see an issue. If the director is being paid through the payroll, though, I wouldn't see the benefit of not putting it through the payroll. So I think if, you know, if the director said is being paid through the PAYE system, I would put the notion of pay the benefit in kind through the payroll system as well. But once it's being done, I don't see any issue.
Okay, thanks, Audrey. Can you file a return only for your P35 if the balance is outstanding and you intend to pay by cheque?
Absolutely, yeah. So I mean, if the payment has been made, or you're making it by, you know, a different manner, absolutely, just choose file a return only.
Okay, and if on direct debit, should you wait until the P30 December amount has been taken at the end of January before uploading your P35 to ROS?
So no, I mean, there's no need to wait, but again, I would say just use the option to file a return only. So just don't make the payment with it, you know, if the payment is due to go out, you know, in a different way. But no need to hold off, just choose file a return only. Okay,
thank you. Just regarding gift vouchers, so we usually purchase gift vouchers through Perfect Incentive, as it essentially acts like a prepaid credit card. Do you have any plans to integrate Perfect Incentive cards into the software?
Okay, there's no plans at the moment. I'm not overly familiar with that gift card, but just make sure that any gift cards that you buy, you know, to qualify for the small benefit exemption, they have to be gift cards that can't be exchanged for cash. So I know, I mean, there are some gift cards or vouchers that you can buy and that can be exchanged for cash. They don't qualify, but I mean, it's certainly something we can look into. But for the moment, it is me to you and one for all, and there's no plans to extend that out.
Okay, I've just got the 2018 tax credits from ROS today. An employee is missing from the list. How do you register the employee? They are currently on 2017 payroll.
Okay, so I'm wondering, is this an employee that maybe joined in 2017, but perhaps a P46 or P45 Part 3 was never uploaded to ROS? If that is the case, I would upload it now via the 2017 payroll. But if you feel that has already been done, I would just contact Revenue directly and just explain that they're not on the P2C file and they should be.
Okay, and with regard to P2C files, at present I just check this periodically. How often should these be updated, and should we be notified by Revenue when there is a change?
You should be notified by Revenue, but sometimes we have people telling us that they don't receive the notification. So I mean, with the taxation of illness benefit changing from the 1st of January, I would see no harm in doing it monthly. I don't think there's a case of doing it too often. I think it's better to check and have no changes than not to check when there are changes.
Okay, and a very, very similar question: what is the best way to ensure P2C files are received? Has Revenue just advised that there is a new message in the ROS inbox? I suppose just getting into the habit of
going in,
checking.
I mean, what I would say is this is for 1 year only, because once we reach 2019 and we have PAYE modernisation, the programme will automatically check for any changes. So it is a bit of work, but it is for 1 year only.
Okay, I suppose just some clarification just on PAYE modernisation. Somebody just asking, is it from January 2018 that you will no longer have to do a P30 at the end of every month?
Okay, so no, PAYE modernisation is from the 1st of January 2019. So you'll have a periodical submission for every time you pay the employees, but you will still pay them once a month. So all the P's are gone from the 1st of January 2019. So they're with us for another year.
Okay. Okay. Will I be able? Somebody's just asking just a general question. Will I be able to get a copy of this recording? We will, of course. We're recording this morning, so we'll send on a copy of the recording when it's ready to you, as well as a copy of the slides as well. Okay. We'll do that for you. Can I pay one employee 2 vouchers, €500 on the same date? Different vouchers?
No.
No.
Revenue are very strict. It's one. So even if it's on the same day, unfortunately, they would see that as two different, two different benefits, and they wouldn't qualify.
Okay. Any possibility of a sent email section within the software?
We can certainly add it to the list for the developers, that there would be, a track of all of the emails sent. So it's not there at the moment, but we will add it to the suggestion list.
Okay. Just regarding year end, and I suppose the issue of week 53, our payroll is paid fortnightly. We have 1 week ending 28th of December and 1 week ending the 4th of January. Will this be okay in the January payroll, and will it work out for the end of year?
Yes, I mean, if it's fortnightly, provided you've done your 26 fortnights in 2017, and your next payday naturally falls on the 4th of January, although the 4th of January might seem early for a full fortnight's pay, but that would be keeping in line with the Revenue's PAYE calendar, and that's absolutely fine. That's correct.
Okay, and again, so it's just kind of related to week 53. I've done my payroll this week, dated the 6th of December, and it's being paid in week 49. However, this pay is for work done in week 48 because we pay a week in arrears. So do I pay for work done in week ended the 30th of the 12th as a week 53?
Okay, so just to stress, the week 53, the pay date determines the week number, not when you're paying for. So the only people that have a week 53 this year are people that pay on a Sunday. Or the pay date has been a Sunday all along, so it's nothing to do with when you're paying for. It's the pay date, your normal natural pay date. Okay.
I save all my pay slips from each pay run under each employee. Is there a way to remove the password protection on pay slips once exported?
No, I mean, if the password is there on the employee record, then it's always going to be there, for those pay slips, and it's probably a safer way, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay, and just the final question if there will no longer be P45s once PAYE modernisation comes in for employees leaving, will there be any document to replace this?
Okay, so there won't be any document for the employer to give to the employee. The employee will be able to print some sort of a document from their revenue account. I suppose with the change in PAYE modernisation, there's been I suppose a lot of responsibility will be put on employees to log into their revenue account and, you know, print statements that would in the past have been given by the employer. So no, nothing for the employer to give to the employee.
Great. Okay, so that's all the questions. Okay. So we'll let you go. Sorry, our apologies. We have run over slightly on the time there, but many thanks for joining us this morning. And as I say, we'll get the recording and the slides ready to send over to you. So wish you a good day and thank you very much.
Many thanks. Bye-bye.